Hi everyone. I and many other channels like mine and sort of progressive news outlets, if you like, have said many times that once progressives get a big win in the US rather, the smears will start. And it's happened time and time again. As soon as somebody gets in the limelight, the smears start. It's automatic. It's sort of a knee-jerk reflex now they have. But in the light of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's win and the fact that she's become so prominent in the public eye as a result of this exposure, there are other progressives now that are getting more exposure as a result. And people like Zephyr Teachout, for instance. I know Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is doing some great supporting work for her. But there was one thing that I saw tweeted of a progressive not long yesterday, in fact it was, which made me so angry and upset. I am going to desperately try and get through this video without swearing once, but I cannot promise anything. And the reason and the person I want to swear at the most is this guy, Jake Tapper. Just look at this, what he retweeted out. California Assembly candidate Maria Estrada at ADL National writes, quote, "It's impossible to ignore the undercurrent of anti-Semitism running through a number of Estrada's comments about Zionism and Israel," end quote. For those of you who don't know who Maria Estrada is, and that picture actually is the reason I know who she is. She was on the Jimmy Dore show. She's been on there a couple of times, I believe. Maria Estrada is a progressive, properly progressive, who was running in the California 63rd district against somebody Californians will, or Democratic Californians, progressive Californians will have quite a bit of hate for, and that's Anthony Rendon. And the reason why they'll have a lot of hate for them is even with the supermajority and single-payer healthcare basically passed, Anthony Rendon blocked it. She's primarying him. In fact, she's primaried. She's done. I think it was an open primary. She came in the top 2, so she's going to be against him in November. And this is what, well, rather this. No, wrong hand. This is what Jake Tapper tweeted out. He's tweeted it out like that, so he's not endorsed it at all. He's just said, "Listen, this is what the article says. This is what the article says. You can't have a go at me for that." But we all know why he's done it. Okay, so this is the article. This is from ADL. Quote, "Zionists are the effing worst," end quote. California Assembly candidate Estrada attacks Jews who support Israel, praises Farrakhan's speeches. This is the article. I'm going to read all of this, by the way, just to make, just so you can, you tell me whether any of these comments that Maria has made are anti-Semitic. The Anti-Defamation League does not participate in partisan political activity, but that does not mean we should ignore racism or anti-Semitism on the campaign trail. Maria Estrada, who is running for a seat in the California State Assembly, has attacked Zionism and Israel in a manner that raises concerns about anti-Semitism, and has expressed troubling support for notorious anti-Semite Louis Farrakhan. Is that Louis Farrakhan or Louis Farrakhan? I can never pronounce it right with Louis. Sometimes it's anyway. I don't really care. It's impossible to ignore the undercurrent of anti-Semitism running through a number of Estrada's comments about Zionism in Israel. Okay, this is interesting. It's impossible, is it? It's impossible to ignore the undercurrent of anti-Semitism. Wow, it must be blatant then and out in the open. Although criticism of Israel is entirely legitimate and not inherently anti-Semitic, I would change that to, although criticism of Israel is entirely legitimate and basically one's civic duty as a normal, healthy person, because what they're doing with Palestine and Gaza is disgusting. There you go. There's one instance where I didn't swear when I wanted to. I'll start that again. Although criticism of Israel is entirely legitimate and not inherently anti-Semitic, Estrada consistently ignores the difference between Israelis and Jews. Oh, God. So that's what it comes down to. She said Jewish instead of Israeli. That's what it always comes down to. Somebody saying Jewish or Jew instead of Israeli or Israel. That's it. and has argued that Israeli policies and Zionism are more generally are inspired by a sense of Jewish supremacism and disregard for others. For example, on December the 8th, 2017, in reaction to Israeli actions in Gaza, Estrada wrote, quote, "These are God's chosen people," end quote, referring presumably, ironically, to a biblical term for Jews. Okay, well, it is a biblical term for Jews, but it's also, you know, a dig at people who are religious. How can religious people be so humane to their fellow man? That could be what she's getting at. In fact, I'm willing to bet a large sum of money that that's what she's getting at. Using the God's chosen people thing, presumably ironically. Yeah, I assume she was being ironic. She continued, quote, "Zionism, like any other religious fanaticism, is wrong. Agreed. This type of anti-Zionist rhetoric has been used by many anti-Semites as an attack on Jewish religion as a whole." All she said was Zionism, like any religious fanaticism, is wrong. That's it. This type of anti-Zionist rhetoric has been used by many anti-Semites as an attack on Jewish religion as a whole. Well, this type of shitty article that you're writing is an example of many pro-Israeli, pro-Zionist people who bring up the anti-Semitic angle just as a deflection, just because they cannot defend what they're doing in Palestine and Gaza, because we've all seen the film. Although we're likely to see less of the film now they've made filming the IDF soldiers a crime. This shitstain of an article continues in another post captured and archived by an activist group. Oh, it's captured and archived by an activist group now, is it? Really? Which activist group is that, ADL? She went even further, writing, quote, "Anyone who believes they are one of God's chosen people automatically feel superior and justified in all they do. Religious fanaticism is used to justify apartheid and crimes against Palestinians, and no one should be okay with it." Oh, Maria, when you're bringing up Zionism and Israel, just stay away from the Jewish angle. I've done so many my regular subscribers will know. I've done a lot of videos now on Israel's treatment of Palestine and Gaza. And there's one word that in fact there's two words that I desperately tried not to put in my videos. And in fact, there are times when I've been rendering my videos and putting the little, the pictures up like here, and I've heard myself say Jew or Zionist, and I've gone back and I've redone the whole video. I mean, there's nothing I've said that is anti-Semitic, but it could be construed that way. You don't want to give them any sort of ammunition to throw at you. It's not anti-Semitic what she's doing. It's maybe a little misinformed. Just don't mention Zionism and don't mention Jewish. Just mention Israel, Palestine, Gaza. Just stick to those three things. That's it. You don't have to go into the realms of Zionism. You don't have to go into the realms of Jewish or religion or anything like that. You bring up religion, it's a subject that immediately makes people on edge, or rather religious people on edge. The article continues, because they've obviously done a deep dive here on everything that she's ever said. On May the 14th, 2018, after calling on her, quote, Jewish friends to denounce, quote, the terrorism being inflicted on the Palestinian people in the name of Zionism, end quote, she wrote, Zionists are the effing worst. What is anti-Semitic about that? The terrorism being inflicted on the Palestinian people in the name of Zionism. It is. It is. There's nothing anti-Semitic about that. That's factual. In November 2017, she wrote that, quote, Zionists in America should have to immediately give up their land to whatever tribe it originally belonged to, end quote. Again, not anti-Semitic, and I would go even further to say, I agree with her, totally. That fucking land was stolen. I knew I was going to swear at some stage. Estrada's repeated insinuations that support for Israel is a form of religious chauvinism is offensive and demeaning to the large number of American Jews for whom some form of Zionism is a part of their cultural identity. I'm going to read that quote, that paragraph back on the opposite side of the fence, and you tell me which side is more accurate. The repeated using anti-Semitism as a defense against the accusations against what Israel is doing in Palestine, in Gaza, is absolutely abhorrent, and you should be goddamn ashamed of yourselves. How's that? And a large number of American Jews are ashamed of what Israel is doing in Palestine and Gaza. How's that? Is that more accurate as to what is going on there, as to what this shit stain the ADL have written in that paragraph right there? It carries on. Meanwhile, Estrada has also posted social media comments allegedly expressing admiration for well-known anti-Semite Louis Farrakhan. So, did you say his views on anti-Semitism were correct? We'll carry on. While those comments are no longer available publicly, Estrada has confirmed in the media that she made them, including a post that stated she enjoys listening to Farrakhan's sermons. So, she prevaricated on the issue of Farrakhan and anti-Semitism, writing that listening to Farrakhan doesn't equate to being anti-Semitic. Exactly! I listen to Alex Jones all the time. I find him really entertaining and really quite funny. Does that make me a right-wing lunatic that believes that Sandy Hook was a false flag? Does that make me believe that, you know, psychedelic vampires are coming through the fifth dimension to suck the blood out of our children? No, it just means, hey, some of his stuff he's actually got a point on. There is no doubt he's wrong on many issues, says Maria, including Judaism. Listening to him speak on the American media, imperialism and several other issues, she said. This denial rings hollow, though, the ADL say, given that Farrakhan routinely alleges that Jews control the American media and foreign policy. Why does it ring hollow? Why does my liking Alex Jones and trying to separate the fact that I think he's actually quite entertaining. He's a lunatic. He's wrong on everything. But occasionally he does make good points. I'm not saying I'm an avid listener of his. I've probably listened to about an hour in the last 6 months, but I still occasionally tune into him. Does that mean I'm a right-wing lunatic all of a sudden? Right. For all of you Zionists and people who, you know, support Israeli crimes against Gaza and Palestinians and the shooting of unarmed children and pregnant mothers in their belly, 2 shots, 1 kill. To all you people, I've got some information for you. To all you people who use this anti-Semitic defense to defend what you're doing against these poor bastards in Palestine and Gaza. Palestinians are Arabs, you stupid bitches. Therefore, your crimes against them, because they are Semites, are by very definition fucking anti-Semitic. You want to talk about anti-Semitic? Let's talk about that anti-Semitism, shall we? Jake Tapper, you're a piece of shit. And I hope everybody sees this video and fucking tags you in it and calls you for the piece of shit that you are. Not only are you calling Maria Estrada, who is just somebody who seems absolutely lovely, labelling her and slurring her and slandering her as an anti-Semite, but not long ago you were blaming Yemen for something. This made me angry. And I'm 6,000 miles away. If you're in California, I really do think you should be a hell of a lot angrier than me. And if you're in the California 63rd District, get out there and help Maria. If you enjoyed this video, please click the bell down there and subscribe so you get a notification of next time I drop a video. Also, I can't do this without your help, so if you can afford it and you enjoy my videos, please support the channel by subscribing to my Patreon. Link is down there. You can do it for as little as $1 a month, and it really does help. If you can't afford it, that's fine. Please share my work and talk to other people about the issues that I bring up. Thanks very much for your support. Until next time. Peace and take care.